My name's Alicia Johnson. I'm the Director of Emergency Management at the University of California, Berkeley. And I also run a company called 2 Linchpin Road, which focuses on emergency communication and operational readiness. The best way that communities can prepare for a fire season is to really think and plan ahead. And so look at what you might do in case something does happen in your community. Where would you go? How would you get out of town? If you're called on to support your community members, what would that look like? Are your supply chains resilient? How do you respond? And then build those opportunities for collaboration and connection with your community responders. So if your community experiences a fire, or frankly any other disaster, there's a lot of things that go on to help a community respond. And those look like things from an initial 911 call to establishing a group of leadership on the actual premise of the event, so the fire itself. That's called a command post. Those leaders then make decisions about how to deploy resources, whether that's more fire engines or perhaps airplanes from CAL FIRE, or even things like where's a shelter going to set up, or where are we going to feed folks who are evacuated. Disasters have a lot of logistical support. They need things like fire engines and perhaps airplanes dropping retardant on a fire and things like that. And all of those resources cost money. So whether that's a locally based resource or a state or federal based resource, resources are deployed because of your tax dollars. It's also an opportunity to reinvest in a community that's actually experienced something really horrific. And so providing that level of community resilience through economic stimulation and those tax dollars. One of the most important memories for me was when I was deployed to the 2017 Sonoma County fires. And I had an opportunity to stay in a local hotel where survivors were also staying. And I was coming off of a shift at 7 in the morning, and I had an opportunity to take breakfast with survivors. And as I was sitting there, I was wearing a pair of shoes that were just average sneakers. Nothing set them apart, but a survivor noticed them. And she told me, I have those same shoes under my bed. And she paused, and then she said, I used to have them. They're gone now. And it was one moment for me that really honed in on why, as an emergency manager, we actually do this work and what that means to individuals who may not even know that we exist and may not actually understand our role, but are impacted by the work that we do inside an emergency operations center and inside a response that brings community resilience back into the place that we love. One of the really important mechanisms of food, right, is not just the physical nourishment, but also the mental nourishment that goes into that. And again, in the 2017 fires in Sonoma County, when we opened up Coffee Park, which had absolutely been devastated by the fire, we allowed residents and their families to come back to see their properties, to go through some of the rubble, to see if there was anything that they could salvage from that horrific incident. And they were there all day, right? It wasn't just like, oh, I'm there for a couple of hours and I'm gonna take a look around and then I'm going to leave. No, these families were there for hours at a time. And what was really amazing about that experience was that then food was brought to them. So they had a chance to actually be in their neighborhood with their neighbors, taking part in a meal, and then going back to their property and actually, again, having the energy, the mental stamina. The reason you're a local restaurant in a given community or a small business in a given community is because you really care about that place. It's the place that you call home. And that feeling of home extends beyond an emergency, and it extends through an emergency. So whether it's during the response or the recovery or building community resilience, being part of off-the-grid food responders actually helps you continue to support the community that has a need. Food is so valuable. It's an essential part of our life. When we have a celebration, we have food. When we honor people, we have food. If it's a holiday, we have food. We use food as an important part of who we are as a culture and who we are as a people. And that's not any different in a disaster response. So when you are a survivor or a responder in something that's critical to your community, food plays an essential role. It helps support you, not only your physical being, but also your mental, emotional, the whole being of who you are is essentially tied into how you're eating and what you're eating and offering you comfort and security in a time of need.